I grew up in St. Pete, Florida. And so it was not like a majority Black environment by far. In fact, it was, maybe like 10% African American was the demographics in that
Was there
city.
anybody in the city under 70? A lot of old people in St. Pete.
What you're not gonna do is clown my little St. Pete city.
So, Will, I thought it was really interesting the fact that you came to FAMU as a electrical engineering major, correct?
That is true.
Electrical engineering. So,
Yep.
I'm wondering if you did this because I see a lot of college students that do this. They pick a profession or pick a major based off how much money they make, right? And so one of the things that's always true is the engineering jobs are always at the top of the list for making the most money. And I think about when I was in college, I knew a ton of engineering majors. Fast forward 2 years later, none of them jokers were still in engineering because once they only picked it because it made a lot of money. Hence why I always tell college students, don't pick something just because you can make money. If you love it and are passionate, you will be good at it and you will make money. So I'm wondering, especially considering what you're in now and how good and great you are at this, did you do the same thing? Did you pick engineering just because of the money?
Your advice is right. Your advice is spot on, 100%. Pick something that you're passionate about and you can do well, the money will come. Don't worry about the money. And even if the money doesn't come, you will live a happy life in theory if you're doing something you're passionate about, right? Never do it for the money because that's the fastest way to be unhappy, frankly. So for me, what happened was I never wanted to be an engineer. I was good in math and science. I was that kid. I always had like an analytical mind. I had the test scores and the grades, and I got a big scholarship to major in engineering. There was a push, especially at HBCUs, to get more Black students into the STEM programs, right? Science, technology, engineering, mathematics. And I got one of those big scholarships. I didn't want to do it. I knew I wanted to be in business for myself. I didn't know film was going to be the business. But I knew I wanted to be in business. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And my parents said, listen, you got the scholarship A. B, once you have an engineering degree, you can do anything you want. And you got the scholarship C. You're going to take the scholarship and then figure it out. So I went in, I did it. It was never my passion. I didn't do it because of the check. I did it because I had an opportunity, because I got a scholarship. My parents pushed me there. I'm glad that they did. And the reality is that I still use that skill set of honing my analytical skills, even in a very creative industry like film. All I'm doing is, as a producer, is managing a project, problem solving, whether it's the budget, whether it's actors, personalities, whatever. Of course, a very strong creative component, but I'm still using that analytical skill set. And the other thing that I'll say that I say to, kids, young people coming up, whatever you are in, go hard, give it 100%, right? Because engineering wasn't my passion, but like I did what I had to do. I graduated magna cum laude. That's important. Like, don't think you can just, dial it in and be lazy and not do your work in whatever job. You're a PA, an intern, you're answering the phones, grabbing coffee. Like, be the best phone answerer, coffee intern. You never know who's watching. And by the way, you need to make sure that you've got that work ethic in place. You can't just turn it on when you've got a big opportunity. Like, I worked very hard during my college career, and I'm so glad I did, because then I entered into a very arduous field, right? A labor-intensive field. So I just always say that wherever you are, even if it's not ultimately where you want to be or where you're sure you're going to be, your name is on it. People are looking at you. Give 110%, damn it, no matter what it is.
Great advice for people who want to aspire to do either what you do or whatever that they want to do. You talked about Stomp the Yard earlier in this podcast. How much do you think you having that historically Black college experience shaped you as a filmmaker?
Oh, everything, honestly. Like, it adjusted my perspective. I grew up in St. Pete, Florida. And so it was not like a majority Black environment by far. In fact, it was, maybe like 10% African American was the demographics in that city.
Was there anybody in the city under 70? A lot of old people in St. Pete.
What you're not gonna do is clown my little St. Pete city, especially as we are here, Super Bowl winners. See, I'm gonna mess it up. You gonna have to edit all this out because I'm gonna just claim victory throughout.
You claiming victory? Okay.
I'm gonna look. I hope I don't look wrong when this airs, but.
Oh no, you hope you don't look too wrong. Like if it's a blowout, I'm be like, Will, that was a bad call.
You ain't gonna blow my dogs out at home, not in my house. No, it was in St. Pete. I don't remember the exact question right now, but what was the question? I'm sorry.
Well, just asking you how the Black college experience shaped you as a filmmaker. Yeah,
because I grew up in a majority white environment. That's what I was saying. Like I grew up, and then so going to FAMU actually was a culture shock because I had not been in an environment like that, right? And it wasn't my first choice of where to go. I had the grades, I had the test scores, I was headed to an Ivy, but I got this big scholarship. My parents said, "Guess where you going?" And I went there, and it opened my eyes because HBCU environments are so very competitive. And it literally is the best and the brightest Black minds. And I had the ability early on, before I got to college, to take advantage of people underestimating me. So when I walked in a room and I was the only Black kid in the honors class, the only Black kid in the AP program, they were like, okay, we know he's not going to do that well, right? And I would take advantage of that. And then I would exceed their expectations. Well, I got to FAMU, right? Like every HBCU, and there were a lot of Will Packers, right? There were other people that could have gone to an Ivy or could have gone elsewhere and ended up here, and they were just as astute and articulate and on their game as I was. So now I got to figure out something else to stand out. And even now, when I go and I pitch my projects, right? I got to go to Universal Studios. I got an idea for a movie. I'm asking them for, millions of dollars. I got to go and gird myself and feel confident. It is nothing like going and standing in front of the FAMU SGA, right? When the senators don't want to give me money, the Deltas are hating, the Qs are hating on me. I'm an alpha, by the way. So I got hate from all the various corners, and they looking at me like, why should we give you this? And they coming at me hard, and I got to defend myself and pitch myself. And really, that is where I honed a lot of the confidence at that HBCU, very competitive environment. People don't understand how competitive an environment where you do have everybody within a similar culture can actually be.
Yeah, and also from a storytelling standpoint, there are stories. I wonder if you don't go to an HBCU, to Stomp the Yard get done. You know what I'm saying? And because you had that experience.
Absolutely.
And another project I know you're working on, speaking of HBCU stories that needed to be done, you're working on a biopic of Doug Williams, correct?
Yeah. And I mean, I just smile when I say it because obviously that ties back to my, my fandom for the Bucks and to my appreciation and love for HBCUs, and also just what I think is right about sports, because Doug, of course, first African-American quarterback to win a Super Bowl, won it in Washington. He was a backup. Nobody expected him to really play. He then took over as a guy named Jay Schrader in front of him. People don't even remember Jay. And then he beat, a blonde-haired wonder kid named John Elway in the Super Bowl. And, he had an amazing Super Bowl performance. So
not only that, was the best player on the field,
Period.
Yeah.
4 touchdowns in 1 quarter. Like, he didn't just win, he won definitively. And he did it at a time when, there weren't Russell Wilsons and Colin Kaepernicks and Kyler Murrays and Jameis Winstons and Cam Newton. Like, no, there wasn't any of that. It was Doug. And he wasn't respected for what he did, but he still said, I'm going to go in and do the absolute best that I can do. And he galvanized people and brought people together. I just remember in my house, like, it was a good day. Even when Doug left the Bucks, he said the Bucks first, he ended up at the Redskins. Even when he wasn't playing for my team, when Doug was winning, like, I remember my dad was happy. My parents were happy. Like, it was a happy day to see a Black man performing at the highest level. He brought the community together. So we're working on that biopic right now for Doug. Can't wait to tell his story because he went through a lot of things and overcame a lot of adversity that people don't know. You know, Doug was he took the Bucks to their first NFC championship. The first success we ever had wasn't under Tony Dungy. It was under Doug Williams. And he was 32 teams at the time, I guess 30 teams in the league. He was getting paid less than backups on other teams, right? So he wasn't like the lowest paid starting quarterback. No. He was getting paid less than people who were backing up other pro. They wouldn't pay him because they didn't respect him as a Black quarterback. And around the time that he was having this contract dispute where he was just trying to get paid fairly, he lost his wife. His wife had a brain aneurysm. So you talk about low points and you talk about people using sport and competition to overcome personal adversity and bring communities together. To me, Doug is the embodiment of that. So I can't wait. I'm very honored to be a part of telling his story.
Yeah, and it comes at such an appropriate time because you have Patrick Mahomes, who would be the first Black quarterback in history to win back-to-back. Unfortunately, it would come at your Bucks' expense, but nevertheless, you know, that just shows how far that things have come, particularly at that position. I mean, look around the league, you got Deshaun Watson, and Russell Wilson. It's like Black quarterbacks everywhere.
Yeah. Now we just need some Black coaches everywhere, Jay.
And
now we
Black coaches, Black general managers, a Black owner. That'd be great.
Well, and you know what? That's what happens, right? Because you have largely white male billionaires who run the NFL, run all sports leagues, but especially in the NFL. And white male billionaires have not historically said, what can we do for young qualified Black people? That's just not, you have to force that. That ain't their culture. That ain't what they talk about in the rooms that they're in. So you have to force that change. But I love the fact that in the Super Bowl, you had, you know, two opposing coordinators on offense, which remember, the knock before was, well, offense is so cerebral, right? So you don't have a lot of Black offensive masterminds, you know? Now we have the two best teams, two Black coordinators, not to mention Todd Bowles, of course, defensive coordinators, great coordinators on both sides, but you've got these qualified candidates. And then, not to slight anybody's teams, but we had, 8 openings? And the NFL hired a bunch of dudes. I'm just going to be honest with you. It was not people with like, oh my gosh, they got him, amazing resume. You got somebody in Detroit that's eating kneecaps, somebody in Philly that's you know, trying to master the English language, talking about systems. Like, it's, you know, again, I hope those people do well, not hating on them, but it is that old adage of if you're Black in this country, you feel like I have to be 3 times as good as everybody else to get the same opportunity. We're seeing that play out, but I'm hopeful that it will change because so much is being talked about. And we're seeing these coaches that happen to be Black succeed. And folks like Bruce Arians saying, I'm gonna hire the best people. And I think it's good if they don't look like me or have my perspective.